Tonight, America, here is what you need to know. As all candidates find out eventually, you can run for office by pointing out what's broken, but you can only get elected by pointing out how you'll fix things. But even with this hodgepodge of positions, we have to consider what one pollster says of Bloomberg's chances. He said, quote, "History says he shouldn't run. Logic says he shouldn't run. The American political structure says he shouldn't run. But $1 billion says, oh yeah, run." Former Clinton White House aide and host of My Two Cents on BET, Keith Boykin, joins me now, and along with Republican strategist Chris Wilson. Mr. Boykin, let me start with you. First of all, let me change topics and go right to John Kerry endorsing not John Edwards, but Obama. What is that going to make any difference at all?
Well, I think it'll give Barack Obama a little bit of enthusiasm in South Carolina and maybe Nevada, but John Kerry is yesterday's news for all intents and purposes. I don't think it's going to affect the Democratic base. I don't think it's going to affect Republicans. I think it's just a way to keep the momentum going after the news where Hillary won New Hampshire. And
Chris, you feel the same way? I mean, do these endorsements really even mean anything anyway?
Well, they don't. What he does bring that I think has a little bit of importance to it is a semblance of a structure that still exists. Now, there may be people who have no commitment to him or no loyalty left, but it's he can still contact them, he can still communicate with them, and that could bring something with it.
Okay. Keith, back to you. Bloomberg. Ego is running this thing. I mean, I can't think of a single reason why this guy should run. There's no real opening for this guy, is there?
I think you're right. I mean, I was surprised how critical you were of him, but you're exactly right. I voted for Mike Bloomberg when he ran for mayor here in New York City. I'm a Democrat. He was a Republican at the time, but I would never vote for him for president. Most New Yorkers would not vote for him for president. And the country, let me be honest with you, the country is not clamoring for another New York billionaire to come into the race and run things for us. It's just not going to happen.
I've never seen that. I've never said to myself, geez, if I just had another really, really rich white guy you know, to run things. And then, I mean, you say you're surprised on how anti-Bloomberg I am. Yeah. I mean, Chris, you want to go into it at all, his stance on guns and what he's doing with the Second Amendment?
Well, and as a Republican, it's just I actually am enjoying watching this because I don't think there's any question where his impact is going to have because of those stands that you mentioned, Glenn. And it's going to have he is not someone who appeals to Republicans. He's someone who appeals to, Keith voted for him for mayor, and he's going to have an appeal to Democrats. And that's because of those types of liberal stands he takes on issues.
Yeah, you agree with that, Keith? Because, I mean, he's pro-gay marriage, pro-abortion rights, pro-gun control, and I mean serious gun control. He's against the death penalty. He's against lowering taxes. He's raised property taxes now 18% in Manhattan. He's against global warming. I mean, he's fighting, you know, global warming. He's against fatty foods. He's against traffic. I mean, well, his solutions are crazy.
I don't agree with that, in part because, look, he won 2 terms as mayor, but only 16% of the people in New York want him to run for president.
Yeah, he won in New York.
Right.
New York. How long have you lived in New York, Keith?
I've lived here for 7 years now.
Oh, see, that's too long. You got to get out across the river one time to time. Yeah, I tell you, America is nothing like New York. New York is a different world entirely.
I completely agree, and I think that the problem is he may play well here in New York City, but he won't play well in red state and middle America. They don't want him.
He doesn't play well in Secaucus.
I don't know where he plays well. You know, it's really problematic, too, for him because Barack Obama is rising and John McCain are rising, and they're appealing to that same sort of independent base that he hopes to get to win. I don't know how he could possibly thread the needle.
You know, usually I have said every single election we've ever gone through, I felt like, geez, are these the best 2 we've got? And we're not at the end yet. But I think the Democrats have some really good people to choose from. I mean, you could be crazy and go with the little space alien, you know, or Hillary Clinton. She's a viable candidate. Barack Obama is a viable candidate. You have all kinds of viable candidates as well on the right. We don't need more choices here, do we? I mean, I think we've got really good choices for the first time in my life. Either of you?
I agree. I think the Democrats have great choices. I think the reason why Hillary and Barack are competing against each other so well and effectively is because the party likes both of them. We can't decide who we like better.
Chris, let me ask you, because you hesitated here. You don't agree with that?
Well, again, as a Republican, I kind of like to watch this happen. If you look at the numbers right now, 70% of independents are planning to vote Democrat or leaning towards supporting the Democrat for president.
Right.
So if you've got 70% of independents that are right now leaning towards the Democrat, and Bloomberg's got the opportunity to divide that up, it really gives Republicans a much better chance in the fall. So I'm enjoying watching that.
Well, but specifically, I've only got 30 seconds here on my question. My specific question is, I think we have great choices. I think both parties have great choices within all of the candidates. It may not be the one that you get, but you've got the whole range to pick from this time around.
Yeah, no question about it. And from that standpoint, I don't know where Bloomberg is able to capitalize. His issue set has already been taken by other candidates. He can't come in and talk about change. Every issue you stated before, somebody already has got the ownership of that.
I don't know who's owning the French fry thing, but he's on it. Chris, Keith, thanks a lot.